So this all ended a couple of months ago, and I only now feel comfortable with sharing it. For background, I'm a 24-year-old woman living in Australia and work at an establishment that caters for an adult audience. One night, as my shift is coming to a close, one of the patrons asked to buy me a drink, which I accept because of employer policy. I talk him up to a couple of expensive drinks for the two of us to have a quick conversation and make my excuses about my shift being over, but he should come back to see me soon. I feel his gaze undressing me in his mind. As he licks the splash of his drink from his upper lip, he stands up and with the creepiest grin asks to walk me to my car. Now, I'm no idiot. I know to never put myself in that position and politely declined him and told him I might see him next time instead. I walked past our biggest bouncer, and the guy didn't follow me. Great, nothing extraordinary, just standard par for the course stuff in my profession. But sadly, this is not where our story ends. Oh no, for this creep it was only just beginning. I'm off for a week after that night, but when I come back into work, I'm told a patron has been coming in every night for the last week asking for me specifically. Says he wants to buy me another drink. Naively, I think to myself, oh great, a bigger pay this week, and get set for my shift. The night rolls on, and who should roll in but our man of the hour, and he asks for me right away. I saunter over and he buys me a drink. The whole time I'm sitting there with him, he just has this creepy grin on his face. Not like your standard sexual undressing creep grin though, that's pretty normal. No, this was the kind of grin where he knows something you don't, and was very pleased with himself about that fact. So we're talking and I'm getting him ordering himself drinks and trying to sell him up where I can. About half an hour goes by, and I make up my excuse to leave so I can try to spread the tips around. But this guy was just not having it. He refused to let me leave, and the more I insisted, the angrier he got. He was practically hissy at me by the time I gave a look to one of the bouncers, who promptly came over and diffused the situation, giving me an opportunity to finally walk away. Crisis averted. Wrong. The bouncer didn't throw him out, just gave me a buffer so this guy started following me around the entire place, even attempting to walk into the employee-only area, which is where another bouncer finally noticed and kicked him out. I put it out of my mind and finish my shift for the night. I start to walk over to my car. There he is, I shit you not, sitting right on the bonnet of my car. How he knew which one was mine, I'll never be able to even guess. He tells me he wants me to give him a ride, and tells me how sexy I look, spewing all the greasy slimeball creep lines at this point that everyone does, and I was really not interested. I tried to give him a hint and declined to give him a ride, but he just turned mean and grabbed me by my arm, insisting I give him one. Of course, I told him to get the fuck off me and jammed my key into his shoulder as hard as I could. He let go and I pushed him with all my might so he fell down. I jumped in my car, locked the door, and slammed that key in the ignition. He was back up before long, slamming on my window and angrily yelling to let him in. And I mean hard. So hard I thought either his hands or my window might give out. I gunned the accelerator and I was right out of there. When I get 5 minutes down the road and I'm sure I'm not being followed anymore, I pull over to the side and call back into work. I told them what happened and alerted them that the other girls needed to be very careful leaving tonight. As I hung up the phone, I broke into tears. Now, this isn't my first rodeo. I've been grabbed before, and the sad truth is I probably will be again. But you never quite get used to it, you know? Eventually, I composed myself though, pulled back onto the road and headed home. I cried myself to sleep. The next morning, word had gotten around and the owner called me to make sure I was okay. I assured him I was, but he insisted I take some time off in case this creep decided to come back. He wanted to put some distance between us, which makes sense. A week goes by, then 2. The guy's still coming in every night asking about me, and being told I quit and don't even work there anymore. A lie to get him to stop coming in, you know. But he just keeps coming in and asking, clearly not buying it. Then suddenly 2.5 weeks in, he stops altogether. That was great to me. I was really needing money at this point, so I was happy to be able to go back to work the following week. Time goes on and everything seemed to go back to normal. Same old chancers, but the good kind that lead to higher paychecks. The abusive guy didn't come back in, so I was happy. I started being forgetful though. I thought I left the door closed when I left the house, but it was open when I got back. It would be lights on or off that weren't before, food left out, things ending up in different places than I remembered putting them down, sometimes even moments before. I was losing it, but I thought it was probably just the stress of everything that had gone down. One of my close friends who worked with me reassured me that it was normal after being grabbed like that, and that feeling would eventually pass. This kept up for a whole month though, until one day I headed out for work, got 15 minutes down the road, and realized I'd forgotten something I'd need that night at work. I head back home only to find the lights in my front room on, and the TV visible as on from the outside as well. I think to myself, I really am losing it. It's a good thing I came back, I guess. I head inside, grab my stuff, make sure to turn the TV off and the light out, and head to the door. Suddenly I freeze. There, standing and blocking the doorway, is that very same creep that grabbed me before. I'm stunned. My jaw dropped onto the floor. Then after what seemed like a lifetime of standing in silence staring at each other, him smiling that same creepy smile, I screamed. "What the fuck? Get out!" I'm screaming for him to go away and asking him what the hell he's doing here, how he knows where I live. Just one jumbled mouthful of confusion. He stands there with that smile on his face while I'm loudly freaking out. I start gasping for air in a mixture of panic attack and bewilderment. Then he decides to speak in my wake. The words just ooze out of him and leave me completely chilled. "Welcome home, honey. You're back early." A switch goes off in my head. I throw everything I have on me at him and sprint to the back door. I'm outski. I leg it faster than I have in my entire life, screaming bloody murder as I go. Of course, not a single person stops to help. Stupid, apathetic society. I hide in some bushes around the corner, tears running down my face, gasping for air. I check my pocket and my keys are still there. No phone though. I guess I threw it at that stalker along with everything else. I sneak back to my house, jump into my car and nope the fuck out. I head to work and tell him what's happened and call the cops. The cops head to my house and send others to my work. The stalker guy was gone when they turn up. They searched the house and found out he had been living in my crawl space. I'm paranoid, that's what all those doors and lights and misplaced things were about. I pack up whatever I can to fit in my car while the cops are still there, and I drive. I haven't been back since. I moved states and got a new everything. I have been in touch with the police since, and they're reporting that while they have his photo from security footage, they haven't been able to track him down yet. That means he's still out there somewhere, and I have no idea how he tracked me down. I probably won't update this again, but I just wanted to thank everyone for their support. It means a lot. This happened 6 or so years ago, when I was 16 years old. I didn't even really realize how unnerving this all was until fairly recently. When I was 15 to 16 years old, I went through a phase where I would constantly get hair extensions put in. I had a favorite salon that I always went to as well. The two ladies there were lovely and would always compliment me on my appearance. Stuff like, "You are so pretty, girl. Do you have a boyfriend? I cannot believe you're only 15. To which I felt absolutely flattered. However, after my 6th or 7th appointment there, they started asking more specifically about why I was single and if I was interested in having a boyfriend. I would always reply with something like, "Yeah, when the right one comes along." During one specific appointment, they started chatting about me being single again. This time, one of the ladies started talking about her brother. She said that he lived in Africa, but he would absolutely love me, and I should go meet him one day. I asked her how old this guy was, and she said he was in his early 20s. Mind you, I was 15. Due to the age gap and the fact my older brother would have killed me for even talking to a guy a year above me, I politely told her I was not interested in meeting her brother, but thanks for the offer. She got very visibly upset and said, "Why? Come on, he'll look after you. Let him take you back to Africa and he'll make you the African queen." I just shook it off because they were always so nice to me, and I assumed that she must be joking around. I remember telling a few friends about it and having a laugh. They joked about how I should have taken the offer. It was soon forgotten. Fast forward an entire 2 years. I was around 17 years old at this point and had just gotten my driver's license. It had been a long while since I had hair extensions put in, and I thought that I would treat myself to change up my look. Of course, I also wanted to see my old stylists for a brief catch-up. I went to the salon and it went quite smoothly. I went from short hair to long hair in a matter of 2 hours and I was on my way. Before I left, one of the ladies asked if I wanted to come back tomorrow to try out their new hair oil serum for free. So of course I said yes. Nothing is free in this life though, and sadly I was drawn in like a moth to a bright light. I went in the next day, super keen for this experimental oil because my real hair was quite damaged. When I arrived, there was a man in the salon too. I assumed it must be their friend. I didn't think too much about it and sat down to get this free serum. The whole time though, this man was glaring daggers at me. And when I say glaring, I mean glaring. He didn't say a single word the entire time, but just stared at me and did a strange giggle every time I said anything. The vibes were not sitting well with me. After they finished, I just wanted to leave, so I gathered up my things, said thank you very much, and good day ladies and sir. One of them stopped me on my way out though, and said, "This is my brother I was telling you about back then." "Oh." "Let him walk you to your car." Unfortunately, my car was parked 10 minutes away, and I absolutely did not want this stranger walking with me for 10 whole minutes, so of course I declined. They kept trying to insist, to which I kept declining. I said no, 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 no thank you. I do not need nor want your brother to walk me to my car. I left the salon and started walking. However, I soon realized I was not alone. The brother was following 2 meters behind me. Where the salon was located was practically almost an alleyway leading into a car park, leading into the back streets. I turned around and told him that I really did not need him to walk me there. I was very capable by myself. His reply was short and to the point. "No, I come with you." Okay. I walked briskly all the way to where my car was. Not a single word was said between us. He just walked 2 meters behind me. Sometimes he would catch up and walk next to me just staring. This went on for the full 10 minutes. I felt so awkward and uncomfortable, and also started to get scared, as it was getting quite dark and nobody else was around. When I was near my car, I finally had enough of this grown-ass man, so I turned around and said, "Please stop following me. Thank you for walking with me, but my car is right here, so bye." Finally, he started talking though. "Where is your boyfriend?" Me, being an incredibly smart woman of age 17, said almost immediately, "I don't have a boyfriend." Dumb. What he did and said next, I'll never forget. There was an elevator right where we were standing that went to the upper level car park. He summoned the elevator, which I thought was quite strange. When it reached us, he looked me straight in the eye and said, "You need to come home with me, or I'll make you my African queen." He grabbed my arm quite forcefully and started trying to drag me into the elevator with him. I obviously started screaming, and fight mode kicked in. He was a lot stronger than me, as he was a male in his late 20s, and I was still this small little 17-year-old with a fresh weave. But boy, you best believe your girl can scream. My heart was in my throat. I felt like I was in a movie, and I genuinely started bracing for assault in this elevator. Luckily, an amazing gentleman who must have just been in the car park somewhere heard me screaming and ran over, which made the salon lady's brother let go of me and absolutely leg it. He ran away so quickly. Thank you to the kind man who saved me that day. I don't know what would have happened if he managed to drag me into that elevator. And also to the salon ladies and their brother. Let's never meet again. And for the 100th time, thank you, but no. I do not want to be the African queen. This happened in May of 2015 in California, which will help those of you who are familiar. I had graduated college in June of 2014, moved back into my old hometown, and started a consulting company with my boyfriend, which was going very well. We had just finished a contract in the Bay Area, and were beginning a new one about 8 hours south in Torrance. He moved down there first to start setting up, while I took care of loose ends at our closing contract before moving down to meet him. The day comes and I pack my car and head south down the I-5. For the uninitiated, it's a straight highway with little in the way of scenery, aside from the occasional strip mall. Its monotony has a reputation for putting drivers to sleep at the wheel. I pass a strip mall with gas and a fast food joint and decide to fill up my car and my stomach. I go to park in the food venue's parking lot, but it's completely full, so I park across the street at a hotel, which at the time I didn't think anything of. I go inside and eat my meal, then cross the street to get back to my car. I'm well into the hotel parking lot when a pickup truck pulls down the aisle, cuts off my path, and stops, with the passenger side facing me. The driver was alone, a clean-cut white male in his mid-30s. I don't really remember anything about him except that he looked very generic and buttoned up. The way he pulled in front of me to block my path didn't initially set off alarm bells, as he had done it in a pretty organic way. He rolled his windows down, and this dialogue followed. "Excuse me, miss, but could you please tell me where the grocery store in town is?" "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not from here, so I couldn't say." "Oh? Where are you from?" Good question. I don't know, not here though. I didn't say that to be rude. I just moved through so many cities at that point and was on my way to a new one, so I wasn't sure really how to answer that question. He laughed and made a joke, then asked me where I was headed. I mentioned that I was in the process of moving. I will say that he was very charismatic, and at this point I just thought he was trying to flirt with me. If I hadn't been so exhausted or in a relationship on another day, it just might have worked. He makes another comment about how unpleasant moving can be and then gives a warm chuckle and extends his hand to shake mine. "Well, I'm glad I got to meet you. I'm Scott, by the way." If you recall, the truck was in front of me with the passenger side facing me. I actually took a step forward to grab his hand, then got the delayed response of every alarm bell that should have gone off earlier. 1. I'm in a hotel parking lot. 2. He just asked me a question that established I don't know where I am. 3. Another question that established I'm alone. And 4. Another that established I'm not expected at my destination for many more hours. The thing that connected all these synapses? When he extended his hand to me, he didn't make even the faintest effort to make it accessible at all. He didn't lean over the seat or move toward me in any way. Instead, his hand was hovering comfortably over the center console, waiting for me to grasp it, which in order to do so, I would have had to lean well into the car. Again, I had already taken a step forward towards him and begun to raise my hand to take his when these sirens went off. I rocked backward to where I was standing. I remember looking into his eyes for what felt like forever, feeling everything click into place while also half convinced my imagination was just running wild. His hand was still waiting steadily. I lowered mine and felt my eyes narrow slightly with suspicion. "I'm going to walk away from your car now, Scott." Boom. The truck burns rubber, thick gray smoke shooting out as the guy guns it out of the hotel lot at 100 miles per hour. He must have slammed it. Regrettably smart on his end, because I didn't have the license number or anything to offer to the police later. In the immediate minutes following the event, I felt very relieved, but I hadn't really processed the full weight of what just happened. Unfortunately for me, I had many more hours to think back and analyze the whole interaction to shreds. The car was somewhat lifted. There could have easily been another person, or even 2 or 3 other people hiding inside. Would he have pulled me in? Would he have injected me with something? My mind just kept creating all these scenarios where I wake up hours later, and nobody would even know where in my drive I went missing, or possibly even notice for most of the day. I still get creeped out thinking about how close I came to taking his hand, and how fortunate I was that I didn't allow my reaction to be driven by manners, as criminals often take advantage of. To give you some context, I'm 20 years old. I live in the suburbs in a small residence of 6 houses. My gate is very, very often broken, including today, which means that 80% of the time it's wide open. Anyone can get into the small courtyard. My house has 1 floor and there are 4 bedrooms including mine. Downstairs there's a guest bedroom, which is used as a treatment room because I have big health problems. This is where all the equipment, medicines, like morphine and doses that could kill an average person, and where the care takes place as well. I have a dog and I'm very, very close to him. He's pretty much my life. He feels everything to the point of feeling my epileptic seizures before they happen sometimes, even recognizing the nurses who are arriving. He recognizes them by the sound of their tires as they arrive in the yard. He never barks, except when there's a problem. Finally, to let you know, a nurse spends 4 to 5 times a day to give me care at home, including infusions. This is quite important to the story. That morning, like every morning, my nurse arrived at 8 a.m. For the rest of the story, I'll call her Sandra. She took care of me as usual. That is to say, an infusion of painkillers, replacing the antibiotic diffusers, giving me a blood test, and remaking the cassette of my morphine pump. We usually chat about everything and nothing all at once. She tells me stories of different patients during my treatments. These nurses are an integral part of my life. They've looked over me for over 6 years now. She leaves after 40 minutes and says, "See you later. I'm sure I'll be a little bit late, but don't worry." That day, I had a medical appointment in the morning, and I was alone all day because my parents were working, except of course the nurses passing by every 4 hours or so. Once back from my meeting, I sat on my sofa with my dog waiting for my nurse to arrive. After a while, I heard the tire noises pulling up. I got up because I thought it must be my nurse, but the dog started to growl behind the door. I took a look at the time, 11:50 a.m. I told myself it was a little bit early, but sometimes instead of coming after, my nurse exchanged me with the patient that was supposed to come before. I hear knocking. Surprised, I go to open it. I see a woman standing there who I had never seen before. "Hello, are you my name?" "I'm Camille, a third-year nursing student. Your nurse is going to be a bit late today, so she told me to come and start preparing everything. She'll arrive not long after, so don't worry at all." I wasn't really wary at all. I was used to students coming by. I was just a little bit surprised that Sandra didn't warn me. Usually, she would tell me every time in the morning when they were coming, or send me a message later in the evening before. She never leaves a student alone when it's the first time we meet each other either. I told myself she must have just forgotten to tell me. I bring this woman in and show her the way to the treatment room. I take out the things for treatment while she washes her hands. My dog is acting real weird though. He growls at her as soon as she approaches me, and then turns around to me. I was so embarrassed that I left him in the living room and closed the door for him to be quiet. I didn't really care what she did. I just let her do it since I was on the phone at the moment. She began to put the IV on the infusion stand and took a syringe. Normally, we rinse my central catheter with a syringe of phi serum already made. You just have to open the packaging. I see it's not a pre-made syringe, but a syringe she had just prepared. I look up and see that the ampules for my treatments are intact and have not been opened either. Yet before, I had heard the sound of ampules breaking. I was starting to think this was very weird. She started to approach me to inject this mystery syringe when I got a message from my real nurse. "I'll be there in 5 minutes. You can start pulling out the material now." Oh my god, my blood had only run for one spin. I got up and said, I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in a bit." I ran and locked myself in the downstairs toilet. The whole time my dog was barking and growling. When I opened the door, he followed me straight up, so we were both in the toilet together. I sent a message to my nurse. "Your student Camille is here already. She already prepared everything." She replied, "Who?" I started crying in the toilet and was really scared. Camille came and called through the door. "Hey, is everything okay in there?" I think she could see I was staying an abnormally long time. "Yeah, I'm almost finished." Then I heard my front door slam shut. 2 minutes later, I heard it open again, but this time it was my nurse. I came out of the toilet crying. She asked me to explain what had happened. I told her about everything and showed her to the treatment room. We called the police. They came, examined everything, took samples as well. The syringe and the rest of the things that Camille had prepared. The test results were received a few days after receiving the products in the syringe and the infusion. What she had put into the syringe was a paralyzing agent. She had put a dose that could have paralyzed a man of 120 kilograms or more, and I'm only 40. In the IV was a medicine to lower the heart rate, but so concentrated it would have stopped anyone's heart. Today, we still don't know who this Camille was, and luckily I never heard from her again after. I should also specify that she stole all my opioids, but not other things like my tablet which was on the bed, or my computer which was just sitting in the living room. In retrospect, I realized my dog had sensed this person didn't want me to be well. I tell myself I should have watched her, because she was just a student, and my treatments are not paracetamol. I kept wondering what could have happened if I hadn't looked at my phone. I'll give you any updates if I ever have them, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Thanks for reading, and have a good day.